We're live? Okay. I apologize, guys, if my Wi-Fi is a little bit bad today. I'm gonna maybe turn off. The Wi-Fi here isn't great, so hey, let me know if I'm cutting in and out, if all my sentences are coming out clear. Let me know in the comments. But welcome, everyone. It is in the U.S. It's currently a Tuesday, where I'm right now. It's a Wednesday because I'm in Australia, but I'm going back to the US in 1 week. So that will be cool. And man, I just want to say, I want to shout myself out. I look good today. I look good today. But I don't feel good because the 49ers handed a terrible loss on Christmas by the Ravens, who absolutely shellacked the 49ers. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about Brock Purdy and just kind of the struggles that he went through. We're going to break down the 49ers versus Ravens game, why the Ravens are so hard to stop offensively and defensively. I did forget my water today, so this is going to be an interesting show. And what's really cool, before I get it all started, is I got a notification the other day from StreamYard that apparently Twitter now allows comments. So anyone watching on Twitter, you don't have to go over to YouTube to comment. You can just comment straight to the comment section from Twitter. So that's really cool, I think. And then what else was I going to say? Oh, yes. So New Year's Day, or no, I guess New Year's Eve, I'm going to be dropping and kind of giving you guys a sneak peek to what my t-shirts are going to look like when they do come out. Continue to share my show with your guys, whoever you want to share it with, because for me to below videos, you have to basically, here, I can share my screen and kind of show you what. Well, hold on. Let me get it on my phone real quick. I'm trying to show you guys what I'm meaning. So basically, I want to start making t-shirts, and basically, you at 500 subscribers and 4,000 watch time hours, within the last 365 days, you get benefits like you can create memberships to your channel, and you guys can donate to the show by super chats. You guys can also basically, one of the perks. This is why I want to start making t-shirts. Is one of the perks is share products, across your channel from your own store. So basically, I'll be able to advertise my products below videos. And so those are all the perks. So continue to share my show with other people to get the watch time hours up. And so I can continue to give you guys, I can help me give you guys merch, is what I'm trying to say. So New Year's Eve, I'll be dropping a sneak peek to all the merch that I will be coming out with later on in the year, and the site that I'll be coming out with later on in the year. So big things happening for the Camper Report. But let's get into it, because I don't want to keep you guys waiting anymore. I don't want to delay any more time, and I'm trying to delay time because the 49ers just got destroyed by the 49ers, and I really don't want to talk about it because I'm still a fan at the end of the day. And that game yesterday was so painful to watch. I mean, I don't even know where to start, because I turned the game off basically at the end, but there was still like 4 minutes left. And it was one of the at halftime, the Niners were still behind by like 1 point. So it wasn't the worst game. And I was like, the game started off a little bit rough, but I was like, okay, we're only down by 1 point. So let me keep watching. It's halftime. Maybe the Niners have this one maybe they could turn it around or something. But they didn't do that. The second half was just as bad as the first half. So let's go to really the first topic, and I wrote it all in caps because I will say I'm going to apologize. I was a little bit disrespectful of the Ravens before this game. I said that when Lamar Jackson gets under pressure, he looks to run. That clearly proved to be wrong in this game. I said that the Ravens, the way you can attack them, I mean, I said that I gave the defense their flowers, but I don't think I was giving the Ravens enough respect as I really should have. And I think that, it's time to kind of talk about what they did right in this game and just talk about how I was wrong especially about Lamar Jackson, especially about Lamar Jackson. I'm trying to find a way. Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. Especially about Lamar Jackson. But let's get into kind of the details of the game. In this game really showed me how hard it is to contain just any team. This is why mobile quarterbacks, elite mobile quarterbacks, not just mobile quarterbacks, because you could consider Josh Dobbs a mobile quarterback, but he's not as elite on the mobility side and the passing side as Lamar Jackson is. And it shows to me, I mean, how just elite Lamar Jackson, how hard it is to stop mobile quarterbacks in general. There was one play that really sticks out to me it was later in the game, and Lamar Jackson scrambled out to his right. And basically what happened was there was Fred Warner keeping contain on Lamar Jackson, kind of just standing in the middle of the field, waiting to see what Lamar Jackson was going to do and trying to prevent Lamar Jackson from running. And basically what happened was Fred Warner bit on Lamar Jackson running, and right before Lamar Jackson crosses the line of scrimmage to run, he tucks it, and then right before he crossed the line of scrimmage, there is a running back that was helping block, and then that running back leaked out, and Lamar Jackson just dumps it off. But because Fred Warner left the middle of the field where the running back had leaked out, he left the middle of the field to go help tackle Lamar Jackson. And so it left a running back wide open in the middle of the field. So that was one of the plays that kind of stood out to me yesterday and kind of shows how hard it is to stop really elite mobile quarterbacks, because when they do scramble, as a linebacker in the middle of the field, you don't know if you should go and cover that quarterback, or if you should go and tackle the quarterback, or if you should stay and keep coverage, keep covering. And so it really is hard to stop guys like that. And it's why the 49ers partly lost the game, is because Lamar Jackson is just really hard to read what he's going to do, because he's so dangerous at every level. And we need to start calling him the MVP, because after Brock Purdy's abysmal performance and Lamar Jackson just continuing to play really, really, really well, I mean, what's stopping him from not getting the MVP? This guy is by far the most dangerous player that defenses face, because he's so good at passing it now and he's so good at running it. So Lamar Jackson for MVP, 100%. We also have to point out Zay Flowers. 9 receptions, 72 yards, 1 TD. I said earlier, I mean, I said last week with Steph Sanchez from 49K Podcast. Go check out that podcast we did last week. It's in my live section, so you guys can go and check that out. But I said the one player, now that the Ravens have lost the running back Keaton Mitchell for the rest of the year, the one player that the 49ers still have to keep an eye out for is Zay Flowers. And Zay Flowers had a massive day. And it really just goes back to the thing of the 49ers really struggle against fast, speedy receivers, because their cornerbacks aren't super good at covering one-on-one very fast, because they don't have super extremely athlete corners at cornerback. I mean, they do, but it's tough to cover fast receivers, speedy receivers in general. And so Zay Flowers, 9 receptions, 72 yards, 1 TD. I mean, they were putting him in motion before the snap, and basically what they do, they put him in motion. It would kind of shift the linebackers, and then they just leak Isaiah Likely out like the opposite way. And it opened up a lot of things for the tight end Isaiah Likely, because before the snap even started, a lot of times during this game, so many people were focused on Zay Flowers because he's so, I mean, you can get a big play out of him at any time because he's just an explosive player. And so the Ravens were using that to their advantage to get other players open. Like I said, Isaiah Likely would just, he'd leak out to the opposite side. They'd fake maybe a run to Gus Edwards. Lamar Jackson would tuck it, boom, completion to Isaiah Likely, or Lamar Jackson would tuck it and run. It's a really dangerous offense that the Ravens have. And don't even sleep on Gus Edwards, because he was great yesterday as well too. I'm trying to look at my other notes to see what else I got, but let's transition from maybe what the defense was dealing with, because that's kind of what I saw from the defense, from the 49ers defense, how it was just hard to contain Zay Flowers, Lamar Jackson, and the run game just all together. It was really hard to contain it because all of those guys, Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely, Gus Edwards even, are just, they're explosive players. They are hard to stop. So that's one thing. But another thing that I kind of want to touch on before I get to your guys' comments, let's flip over to the 49ers offense. Because I feel like when we talk about this game, we're talking about how the 49ers messed up on offense, how they were bad on offense. And yes, a big part of this game was the 49ers, their how do I put this? Their lack of execution on offense. But we also have to talk about their defense. The 49ers defense wasn't great in this game either. They allowed a lot of things later in the game, especially. So, but let's talk about the 49ers offense. My main concern right now is, will the 49ers offensive line be healthy enough? They lost Trent Williams. They lost Jalen Moore to a concussion. And Trent Williams, I don't think it's a terrible injury, but they still lost him. They lost Aaron Banks. Who knows what he's dealing with. So for the Niners, it's like, they only kept 8 offensive linemen on the roster. And now it's like, do they even have enough offensive linemen to play? So they're going to either have to look into signing someone, or they're going to have to rush Trent Williams back. It would be nice to give Trent Williams a week off, but against the Commanders next week, but it might come down to it where the 49ers might not have the option to rest Trent Williams, because Jalen Moore, if he doesn't pass concussion protocol, then he cannot play either. So, and that's their backup left tackle. So the 49ers vary their depth. This was a huge concern just going into the season and just throughout the season in general. The depth on the offensive line is lacking. And we all knew that. The 49ers had just gotten really lucky of not losing any of these guys to injury, so they were able to manage it. But that's one question that I have. Will the offensive line be healthy enough? Because we're better than the Commanders, but if our offensive line isn't healthy enough, it's really hard to get anything done. And David McNiner brings up a perfect comment here. We threw the ball 48 times, ran it 12. That's not 49er football. I will get to that. I don't think it was all Brock Purdy's fault. But I will say, let's give the Ravens some more flowers, because I'm going to get to Brock Purdy in a second. Hold on. Let's give the Ravens some more flowers, because offensively, they're hard to stop. And it did help offensively that they did have their left tackle, Ronnie Stanley, who was questionable with a concussion and maybe wasn't going to play, but he ended up playing. He was their left tackle, and that really helped them a lot too. But Ravens defense, let me give them, they're the best defense in the league. Patrick Queen, absolute monster. They can run. They're just a fast, physical, hard-hitting defense. And Marlon Humphrey, their cornerback, he was like, on his podcast last week, he was like, this Niners team is soft. And I was like, well, that's a lot of trash to be talking, because the Niners team is the best in the league. But Marlon Humphrey backed up his trash talk and backed it up with just playing really good football. The Ravens, their defense can run. Their Ravens defense is fast, explosive. They're good at all three levels. The problem with the Eagles is the linebacker core. I mean, their defensive line is good, but the linebacker core is so bad that you can just exploit the team that way. At all three levels, the Ravens are really good, and that's really, I mean, Jadeveon Clowney had what a day. Just absolutely picked apart Colton McKivitz. And I mean, I knew he was going to, because Colton McKivitz isn't a great right tackle, and that's one position we need to invest in. But, you know, another thing that I will say about the Ravens defense is they are not afraid to blitz. I mean, they blitz a lot. Like, when I mean a lot, they blitz a lot. And they also, like, typically when you see blitzes, the blitz is either coming from a slot corner or a linebacker or whatever, or a safety. But the Ravens at some points, like, Brock Purdy would be lined up under center, and the Ravens would take Brandon Stevens, their cornerback, lined up against Brandon Ayuk, and they'd bring him in and blitz. So the Ravens are not afraid. In this game, showed that they were not afraid to blitz with anyone on the field, whether it was a cornerback on a top receiver on the Niners, whether it was a linebacker, safety, whatever it was. But they were not afraid to just mix up the blitz packages. And that's why I think Brock Purdy struggled so much. Is Brock Purdy was like, no one has ever done this to me in my career. No one has ever blitzed me this creatively in my career, because, you know, he's faced teams that have blitzed him a lot, but not creatively. The Ravens were sending blitzes from everywhere across the field, and that's what I think really won them this game. And, I mean, I want to go back to kind of the Brock Purdy first interception that he threw, because that was probably, and again, okay, so let's stop giving the Ravens their flowers, and let's get to quickly Brock Purdy, because I think it's important that we kind of now acknowledge him. And this was the title of the show, so hopefully nobody got bored with what I was saying. And let's get to the comments a little bit first. So let's see here. We got Carcast in here. Hopefully you're still here. He says, yo, what's good, Carcast? David McNiner, go subscribe to his channel. David McNiner says, what up, Ben? They should go to YouTube and sack that like. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, guys, if you're watching on Twitter, that's great. But hitting a like, go over to YouTube, search up the Camper Report, and hit a like. That would be great. Grandizer says, Benny, what went wrong yesterday with the 49ers? Purdy's play was poor, or did the Ravens just call a good defensive game plan? I think it was a little bit of both. I think Purdy freaked out, but I think the Ravens are just, from top to bottom, coaching wise, they're really good. Discipline wise, they're really good. They have playmakers all over the defense. You have Brandon Stevens, who I had never really, he's underrated, but he's really good, their cornerback. You have Marlon Humphrey. You have their safety. I could look him up. He's really good too. I want to look up his safety, the safety. I know what he's called. Hold on. I'm looking it up. They have Marlon Humphrey, their corner, but they also have a really, really good safety who's probably one of the best in the league, I'd say. Ravens. I mean, they also have Roquan Smith. Can't forget about him. Kyle Hamilton. There we go. Kyle Hamilton. So, I mean, just playmakers all over the field. And I think it was, so let's get into Purdy. Hold on. I'll get into Purdy in just a second. David McNiner says, we threw the ball 48 times, ran it 12. That's not 49er football. I will get into that. Did the 49ers go from one of the healthiest teams to having a lot of key injuries? Yes, they did. They lost 3 offensive linemen. I mean, some of those guys will come back. It wasn't significant injuries, but still, 3 offensive linemen. They're still dealing with the loss of Eric Armstead, which, by the way, I forgot to add this in as a topic, but the 49ers signed Sebastian Joseph Day, who I didn't even know he was a free agent, but was a very good defensive lineman a few years ago for the Chargers and Rams, and he's a defensive tackle. And so this kind of indicates to me, us signing him kind of indicates to me that maybe the Eric Armstead injury is not is more serious than we all thought it was, which isn't good because he's a key part. And that's another reason why I think we lost this game is Eric Armstead was not in, and it was showing. The Ravens, a big thing, especially early in the game, they established the run, and they were able to run it up the middle very consistently. Real quick, I need to go and open my window. It's getting a little hot in here. Hold on, I'll be right back. That's better. But I mean, I think Eric Armstead, the loss of him is quite hard. Like very. It's a tough loss because I mean, people were saying, Javon Kinlaw's doing well. I mean, not in the run game. I don't see how he's doing well. Not in the run game, at least. He is not doing very good. The Ravens were running it at will yesterday. So, but let's get to one more comment. Please give the Ravens more flowers. Zay Flower. Zay Flowers. So that's like a wordplay. Zay Flowers. Please give the Ravens their flowers. That's a little bit of a wordplay there. But yeah, so let's get to let's get to Brock Purdy. What's next for Brock Purdy? I was watching Haberman and Middlecoff. Haberman, was it Middlecoff? I think it was Middlecoff, was talking and basically said the reason why he thinks the reason why Brock Purdy got kind of benched at the end of that game is first thing, they were down by a lot. Second thing, he was half banged up. And third thing, it's like, there's no real reason why you should put him back in there. I don't think Brock Purdy's going to get benched moving forward. I mean, he had one bad game, but Sam Darnold, I don't think would be any better than Brock Purdy at this point in the season. So do not bench Brock Purdy. I don't think that's what's going to happen. But let's get into the first interception that he threw, because I think that was the worst, most abysmal one. I mean, if you watch, I apologize for the background noise. If you watch, hold on a second. Let me mute it. Somebody is playing very loud music, kind of being a little bit of a disturbance outside. So let me go close the window again. Anyway, golly, I apologize for the pause. But I'm going to get back to it real quick. So Brock Purdy said on his first interception that, if you watch the press conference after the game, after the fact, I mean, he said that he saw Deebo Samuel kind of flashing and he saw Deebo Samuel open and he thought he could fit it in through that tight window. And then you obviously saw Hamilton, just the Ravens safety, just pick it off. And so I don't know. I feel like on that throw, it's Brock Purdy's made risky throws all year that he's just kind of gotten lucky on, or just haven't been picked off. But you can't do that against this Ravens team. You really can't. This Ravens team, because a lot of teams that they've played in the past, no defense in the league is more disciplined than the Ravens defense. The difference between Brock Purdy, this season to this game is I feel like he hasn't played as much of an opportunistic, as much of a disciplined defense as the Ravens. The Ravens, if you make any sort of mistake, they are going to kill you. And that's what they did in this game. That's what they ultimately did in this game. Brock Purdy would make mistakes and they capitalized off of it. That's kind of the end thing. And I will say that not all of it was his fault, because yes, he was making interceptions. And yes, he maybe made a few poor decisions, but I don't think the game plan was right as well. You saw the Ravens went to a lot of play action. They went to a lot of RPO to kind of confuse the 49ers defense in this game. The Niners also kind of earlier in that game went to play action, and that's not their system. They're not good under play action, especially against how a high caliber defensive line like the Ravens. Because what happens in a play action? You fake the run. You have to have good protection for long periods of time in play action. And the 49ers don't have that. They just don't have a good offensive line to protect. And so they started off early in this game with play action and kind of faking and kind of using the run game to trick the Ravens to set up the pass. But they weren't able to protect long enough for Brock Purdy to really even think about throwing the ball. And so what I saw is Brock Purdy would fake it to whoever, McCaffrey, and he'd drop back and there would be no time to even throw the ball. He'd panic and he'd throw an interception. And it's how good the Ravens defense is. It's how good their blitzes, like I was saying earlier, is. It's just really how good their team is. But the 49ers kind of, I feel like, had a little bit of the wrong scheme in this game. So, I mean, it goes back to offensive line woes. You know, my brother was telling me, I think in the playoffs, the 49ers are going to get exposed. My kind of thought on that is, yes, I think they will. I think they'll have issues, but I do not think there is a defense better than the Ravens in the NFC. So, and I don't think there's a team that matches up as well with the 49ers than the Ravens do. And so, as far as the 49ers in the playoffs getting exposed, I don't think they will in the NFC because all the top teams, the Eagles aren't great. We know that already. They almost lost to the Giants yesterday. The Cowboys, we've blown them out. The Cowboys aren't big, aren't strong up front. They have Micah Parsons, but their defensive line isn't super elite. Their play calling is terrible on the offensive side, in pressure situations. So the Cowboys I'm not afraid of. We'll get to the Lions though. The Lions I'm like, I don't know. The Lions could do something. And the Rams. I feel like the Rams is another team. I'm going to actually get into teams later on in the show, I'll get into teams that will surprise other teams in the playoffs. So stay tuned for that. But my thing is Niners will do well in the playoffs. I don't think they get exposed by anyone in the actual NFC. Now, if they face the Ravens again in the Super Bowl, maybe watch out. But Ravens are definitely favorites to win the Super Bowl. So, I mean, implications for 1 seed. Let's talk about real quick what's next for the 49ers just as far as the 1 seed goes. They have to win out. The Niners have to win out. Basically, they still own the tiebreaker over the Cowboys and Eagles. Eagles are tied with them record-wise, but they still own the tiebreaker. And I think winning the next 2 games, Commanders versus Rams, is easy enough. But I will say, if like I said before, if we don't have enough offensive linemen, a good enough offensive lineman on the field, who knows if we win, especially versus the Rams. I'm not as afraid with the Commanders, but I am more afraid with the Rams because the Rams are playing good football. They're playing good football. They're running the ball well. Matthew Stafford is finally healthy, so he's playing really well. Cooper Kupp is Cooper Kupp. Aaron Donald is still Aaron Donald. Their defense isn't great, but they are very disciplined. I'll get into that later. And they're a very scrappy defense, very opportunistic defense. So the Rams could kind of be that week 18 game's going to be an interesting game. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. I really don't think so. Because if you remember, week 2 earlier in the season, the 49ers started, they played the Rams in SoFi. And the Niners, they were actually down against the Rams at one point in that game. I think at one point, I believe it was 17-10. Rams were winning. And then the second half, the Rams completely collapsed. But what I'm trying to say is the Rams, they're good. And yes, we have their number, but they're going to give us a fight. So if we're not ready for that game, then we could very, very well slip up. But so could the Eagles. The Eagles play the Cardinals and Giants next. And the Giants almost just beat them. So, and the Eagles, who knows? They could lose to the Cardinals. Like right now, they're a huge, 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 huge question mark. But you also have the Lions as well. The Lions are tied with the Niners, but the Niners have a better the Niners have a better NFC record, and so they have the tiebreaker over the Lions because the Niners are 9-1. The Niners have only lost one game in the NFC, and the Lions have lost, I think, 3. So if the Lions win out and the 49ers lose the next one out of the 2 and the Eagles lose the next one out of the 2, then the Lions are all of a sudden the first seed. So the Niners, it's very important that they win against the Rams, which I don't think is going to be a cakewalk. I really don't. So that's kind of my 30-minute spiel on the 49ers. Now we're going to get to a little bit more of the NFL talk. So obviously all you Niners fans might not want to listen to these next parts because I'm going to be talking more NFL-wise about the Chiefs, they're bizarre this year. They are very bizarre. But let's get to a little bit more of the comments. And I do agree with David McNiner. The 49ers did not run the ball enough. And it's not even like Christian McCaffrey was not doing well. The Ravens, I said before the game, the Ravens, I mean, they're good at stopping the run, but if you run it to the right side, they're actually not great at stopping the run. And the 49ers were running it well in this game. They just didn't stick with it. And they should have. So, I don't know. Let's see here. It's getting a little hot in there because Manny is really upset at the 49ers loss. It gets him heated up. Yeah, it is. It's also a very hot because it's winter in the United States, but it's summer in Australia, and it's a hot summer. It's starting to become very hot. So, it's definitely a little hot today for sure. But yes, I am heated up. Ravens get no flowers. They bounced the ball. I think he was meaning the ball bounced their way, and we played like a D-League team. They do get their flowers though. Patrick Queen is what a player, man. You don't think that who was it? I think it was Brandon Stevens jumping up and batting the ball up in the air, and then Kyle Hamilton, catching that interception. You don't think that's impressive by the Ravens? You don't think it's impressive how Jadeveon Clowney single-handedly destroyed this offensive line? You don't think it's impressive that Lamar Jackson, every time he'd run, he'd have the 49ers linebackers on skates, and then he'd just bring it back up and chuck it down to a tight end or running back? You don't think like that? This was art by the Ravens yesterday, I will say. So you don't think it's impressive how Zay Flowers had 10 receptions and absolutely cooked our cornerbacks? I don't know. If you think that's not impressive, then I don't know what is. Now, it doesn't help when we turn the ball over 4 times. It really doesn't. But the Ravens were doing a good job at capitalizing, and they created those turnovers, a lot of them. So what can 49ers learn from this game? Can they make the necessary adjustments to win out? Do the 49ers need to win out? Rest key 49ers players. They do need, I just explained that scenario. I believe you posted this comment before I got into the whole NFC scenario. Yes, they do need to win out. I wouldn't rest their key player. Well, I would it depends with Trent Williams. It depends. If Jalen Moore is good to go, then rest Trent Williams. But Jalen Moore's in concussion protocol, and he's our backup left tackle. And without him, I don't know who would start at left tackle. I think Zakel would, but I think he's out for the rest of the year. So, and we had at one point yesterday, we had Birch starting at left guard in place for Aaron Banks, and that was an absolute disaster. The guy we signed, Birch, absolute disaster at the guard position. So if he's playing, we might be screwed. Ben, that is crazy. You get a copyright strike for someone playing music outside. That we can hear. Wait, did I get copyrighted? Oh, wait a second. I really hope I didn't get copyrighted. I don't think I did. I have gotten copyrighted before. Basically, YouTube takes it off, and basically the whole screen is black on YouTube. It's kind of scary. Now that the music isn't outside anymore, I am going to go open the window again because it is getting very hot. So Christmas Day, man, or the days after Christmas are crazy. It's like when everyone wants to party and doesn't give a crap about some kid filming in his basement. Not basement, in his room. Um, Ben was playing on a holiday like Christmas. Wait, Ben was playing on a holiday like Christmas. Oh, okay. A factor for some 49ers players. Sorry, comma, Ben, comma, was playing on a holiday like Christmas, a factor for some 49ers players. Some player prefer to be home with their families they don't want to be there. Did that play a part? I hope it didn't, because these guys are grown men and they're getting paid millions of dollars to play the game that they love. So I really hope it wasn't, but who knows? Niners have clinched the NFC West. Benny, why do you think the 49ers play calling got away from the run? The 49ers got away from the run rather early on in the game. I think that Kyle Shanahan wanted to match the tempo that the Ravens were playing on offense. The Ravens were playing the game fast. They were basically, I think really what Kyle Shanahan really thought, I'm trying to think. I think what Kyle Shanahan really thought is, I think he thought the Ravens aren't going to expect me to run the ball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do play action off the run, and I'm going to take advantage of that and maybe get a few big plays because they're expecting the run. And so I'm going to do play action and let Brock Purdy throw it to and maybe my pass game will benefit from them expecting the run. It did not. It did not benefit. It killed Brock Purdy, and it killed our offensive line. And it really showed me how bad our offensive line is. If you enjoy the content, please hit the like, subscribe button. Helps the algorithm for the Camper Report. Much appreciated. Yes, it does. I will say real quick, as far as quality of videos, I've never been that great at making my videos super like high quality, high editing, whatever. But I will say that I had a guy email me the other day, and he's a fan of the show, and he said, "Hey, if you want to collab, I can edit some videos for you." So that could be cool. I might actually get him to edit some videos for me, see how they turn out, so I can get a little bit higher quality there. And that would be really cool, in my opinion. Yeah, that's going to be a huge matchup. Dolphins at Ravens. I think Ravens win that one. The Ravens are after yesterday, my gosh, they are good. They're good. I don't like it. Ravens are playing at a whole other level. Fins are too banged up. I agree. Okay, so I think that's enough of the comments. Let's get to some more of the NFL, rest of the NFL. I'm really only going to touch upon the Chiefs versus Raiders game, because I think the Chiefs are kind of an interesting team to talk about. And you look at my latest numbers on my channel, the video that has gotten the most views within the last few weeks has been my video that I did on the Chiefs. And not that I'm saying I'm doing videos catered to my fans, but I do want to touch on the Chiefs because they are a very popular subject. And so I'm going to touch on them. Should we be concerned about the Chiefs? I'll also touch on a little bit of how the Chiefs need to win out, not only because they need to clinch their division, but also because they do not want to be the 4 seed. And I'll get into that later. But let's kind of get into breaking down this Raiders team, this Raiders game a little bit more. Because the Raiders, as you guys know, I believe got the win. I could quickly look it up again, but I believe it was 20-17. I believe that was the final score. 20-14. 20-14, Raiders get the win in Arrowhead. There was some crazy stat. It was the first time in like 10 years that the Raiders had done that or something. Some crazy stat. And I mean, it's true. It is so insane. I mean, when you win in Arrowhead this late in the season, it is very impressive if you are a team. So hats off to the Raiders. I'll get into a little bit of what they did right here. But let's get into Mahomes, because Mahomes kind of made 2 really crucial mistakes in this game that kind of killed the Chiefs in a way. So the Mahomes pick 6, I will say it looked kind of bobbled, like when because he had the pick 6 early in the game, and he kind of threw it out to the receiver, and it looked like he kind of bobbled it while throwing it. He kind of lost grip of the football, and that was due to the cold weather in this game because it was cold. This game was absolutely freezing. It had just been raining. It was muddy weather, but and it's the same with the fumble that happened earlier. Mahomes fumbled a exchange between, I believe it was Isaiah Pacheco. But I will say that yes, it was cold, and yes, it was affecting how they threw the ball and how they handled the ball. But hey, if you're a Chiefs player, you signed up to play for that team, you have to learn how to play in the cold. And Patrick Mahomes has played in the cold because he's played as a Chief for many years now. So he's used to the cold of Arrowhead Stadium. So this game was kind of interesting because it's like he had troubles with the cold, but he should be used to it by now. So yes, the cold was a factor, but at the same time, it's like, hey, especially Patrick Mahomes he should be affected by it, but he had two mistakes that were just very crucial in this game. And so, but I mean, let's get to Aiden O'Connell. Never completed. This is a crazy stat that I found on the internet. Never completed a pass after the first quarter. So basically, I don't have his immediate stats up here, but Aiden O'Connell, I believe he only completed 9 passes, and all of those 9 passes were in the first quarter. Did not complete a single pass after that time. Real quick, guys. This is another break because this show is really interrupted. My bad. Anyway, back to the show. The interruptions, it's very annoying. But back to the show. So basically, yes, O'Connell did not play a great game either, but the Raiders were able to wear down the Chiefs defense through basically running the ball. The Chiefs were not able to stop the run in this game, which is surprising because they've done a really good job at that all year, but they were able to wear down the Chiefs by being out physical. I mean, just being out, how do you say? Just better physicality, I guess, than the Chiefs defense. That's how I say it. The penalties also. Real quick, I think my earbud just died. The penalties in this game were also bad on the Chiefs side. They only had 5 penalties, but those penalties came at a very terrible time. So the Chiefs, some of their penalties killed them. They struggled to throw the ball, obviously. But I will say, let me give flowers to, because it wasn't all Chiefs mistakes. It was a lot of the reason why they lost this game was Chiefs mistakes. But the Vegas defense was good. They were making it tough for Mahomes to throw the ball because their cornerbacks were just sticking to the receivers like glue. And that goes back to the point I've made all year is the Chiefs, they just don't have very good receivers just in general that can win one-on-one, except really Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce. But even Travis Kelce, I feel like he's kind of starting to show his age a little bit. Travis Kelce's not really, I feel like, not as dominant as he was back in the day. And I feel like since there's not as many weapons around Travis Kelce to take the attention off of him, opposing defenses can focus more on stopping Travis Kelce. And in the past, it was like, okay, if you stop Travis Kelce, they could just dump it down to Tyreek Hill. But now, if you stop Travis Kelce, it's like, who do they go to? I mean, Rashee Rice is good, but he's not super dominant. So who do they go to? And last year, as Juju Smith-Schuster was a big part of why they were so good. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's why. And I mean, the Vegas D, it's not even like they have a ton of talent, but they're just a scrappy defense. They're opportunistic. They take advantages of the Chiefs' mistakes, like they did with the interception and fumble. So, And I will say, and here's another stat that I'm looking at right here. Under their new head coach after they fired Mike McDaniels, Pierce, their defense has really improved within the last few weeks under their new coach. Their defense was not good earlier in the year, but the last 2 weeks, the Raiders defense has scored 4 TDs, and that's out of 5 of the whole year. So in the last 2 weeks, they've scored basically all their touchdowns, the defense, for the whole year. And then you also consider the fact that versus the Chargers last week, they scored 21. They allowed the Chargers offense 21 points. The week before that, they allowed the Vikings 3 points. And this week, they allowed the Chiefs offense 14 points. So their defense has really, really improved. And it's going to carry this momentum that the Raiders are kind of starting to get is going to carry into next season. And hopefully they offer Pierce, their head coach, the head coaching job for next year, because he is the interim head coach. So, but I mean, another thing, so let's get kind of to more of the implications now that the Chiefs are 9-6. And let's get to kind of more of the seeding, how this factors into seeding in the playoffs. Because it is getting later in the year and that is starting to become a factor. Now that you don't, it's important that the Chiefs get the 3rd seed, because if you get the 4th seed, the Ravens, so let's say you get the 4th seed if you're the Chiefs, because the Chiefs are now 9-6, and the Jaguars, Texans, and Colts are all 8-6, are all 8-7. So they're 1 game back from the Chiefs. So the Chiefs can technically now still get the 4th seed. Forget about the 2nd seed, because the Chiefs, that's not really in the running anymore. But the Chiefs can still technically get the 4th seed now. And so, but if you get the 4th seed, you're now looking at, okay, so you play the 5th seed 1 week, which that's even dangerous, because you don't want to play the Bills or the Browns, who are both very hot right now. And I'll get into that later. The Browns, well, actually, let me get into it a little bit more right now. The Browns defense is very, they're the best defense in the league. And so it doesn't matter how many mistakes Joe Flacco makes, their defense is going to cover up a lot of that. So the Browns are a hard team. I don't know if the Chiefs would beat the Browns. I don't know. They probably would, but I don't know if the Chiefs would beat the Bills either. So if the Bills or Browns get the 5th seed, which one of those teams probably will, you're looking maybe even at a first round, like the Chiefs, after winning the Super Bowl the year before, the Chiefs might be a first round out in this year, in this playoffs. So if you get the 4th seed, even if you get past the first round, now you're looking at playing the Ravens, who are most likely going to get the 1st seed in the 2nd round. You're playing them in the 2nd round, and the Ravens would right now, especially in Baltimore, I feel like they would absolutely destroy the Chiefs. So I don't see the Chiefs making it past the 2nd round unless a miracle happens. And even if they get the 3rd seed, right? You're either playing the Bills or the Browns. Okay, let's say you get past the Bills or the Browns. Now you're playing the Dolphins in Miami, which Miami's an easier place to play in. So I feel like the way that the Chiefs get past the 1st and 2nd round is if they get the 3rd seed, they win the 1st round, and it's easier to win in Miami than in Baltimore. And so it's essential that they at least try to get the 3rd seed, and they need to win these next 2 games, which shouldn't be terribly hard because it's not even like hard next 2 games. But we'll see. We'll see. Let me see. I'm wondering if I have anything else on there. No, I don't. Okay. I was getting a little heated with that topic as well. I'm feeling it today. I'm feeling it. But yeah, that's kind of the topic I had on the Chiefs. So let's get into a little bit more of the comments, and then we will get you guys out of here. The last topic we do have is teams that will surprise in the playoffs. I'll spend a few minutes on this topic, and then I'll get you guys out of here. Let's see. Clowney is not good against the run. Our O-line is built to run the ball. Yeah, exactly. I'm agreeing with you, David. That's why the Ravens aren't great at when teams run it to the right side, because the Ravens Jadeveon Clowney primarily lines up on the right side, and he's not good against the run. That's true. Another thing with the Ravens, I will say, is that they play a lot of 5-man fronts, and then they'll drop back that 5th man into coverage. So a lot of times that's Patrick Queen. And so that's another reason. I think that's why Brock Purdy was struggling yesterday, is because he was struggling to figure out, am I going to get a 5-man rush, or am I only going to get 4 men to rush and one guy in pressure, in drop back and pressure? And so that's why a lot of his interceptions were actually over the middle, because he was thinking, okay, I can go to George Kittle on this play. But then when he snapped the ball, another guy drops into coverage. The guy that's rushing apparently drops into coverage, and now George Kittle is no longer open. And the whole thing, I just came to this realization, the whole thing with Brock Purdy's game is that he's very much about anticipation. He knows where to go with the ball before the ball is even snapped. But what if a team like the Ravens switches up their coverage post-snap? What if they send a 5-man front, but right before the snap starts or right after the snap starts, they drop that 5th man into coverage, and now all of a sudden, where you think you can go with the ball, you can't, because that guy is covered. And since you're anticipating too much, you automatically just panic and throw it to that guy anyway and try to force it in there, but that is intercepted. So I don't know if you guys understood that, but that is kind of the realization that I just came to, and why maybe Brock Purdy struggled so much. You saw Purdy wanting to play when he got pulled. Your thoughts on that? What did you hear? Was Purdy kept out for what reason? I kind of explained why he was kept out, so skip back. I'll real quickly say it again. I think it was just, they were down by so much. He had his second shoulder stinger, so they didn't really want to play him again. I just think Kyle Shanahan said, just, take the rest of the day off. I will say that some of the reason why they did bench him is because, he wasn't playing great. But, yeah. I also just think Kyle Shanahan was trying to save Brock Purdy from losing his confidence even more. I mean, you look at Brock Purdy post-game, if you watched his press conference, I mean, he was lost for the first time really in his career. I mean, every question that he answered, his body language was terrible. Every question that he answered, I mean, he was just looking down at the floor. Yeah, I mean, I think we need to do this. And I'm like, yeah, he was broken. So I think Kyle Shanahan just pulled him because his confidence was absolutely gone. Whitner believes 49ers loss to Ravens is blessing in disguise. Dante Whitner believes the 49ers will benefit from their big-time loss to the Ravens. Yeah, I believe so too. I think the Ravens get an A+, not A-. I think they get an A+. Let's see what else. 49ers news, why the 49ers played Jason Verrett so suddenly against the Ravens. Yeah, I did see that for a few plays. I was like, what the heck is going on? I did see that. I don't know why. Brock Purdy, when things don't go my way, hold on. Brock Purdy, when things don't go my way, it's understanding I can't be acting out. I have to be real with myself and be better. This upsets Ben Camperman. I don't like to upset him. Yeah, Brock, I mean, he manned up and he answered every question with maturity. And he has great maturity, and I do believe he will learn from this lesson. But I also think there's some things that are out of his control. For example, they do not have a good offensive line. That is apparently clear after they allowed pressure after pressure after pressure on Brock Purdy. Their game plan, I don't think, was the best. I think it could have been better. So it wasn't complete. I mean, he can improve, but it was not completely out of his control. Okay, so teams that will surprise in the playoffs. This is kind of a topic that I was thinking of today when I was making all the topics. And I was thinking, there are teams that are kind of starting to heat up that were not great early in the year, but they're starting to heat up right now. And so maybe, just maybe, they could upset a few teams. Like, for example, the Giants last year upset the Vikings in the playoffs. The Giants were a 6 seed. So I'm just thinking, who are some bottom seed teams that are going to do really well in the playoffs that we're overlooking? So I have to start here. Let me get it real quick. So teams that you don't want to play in the playoffs. Now, I know the Lions are not, and this kind of pertains to the 49ers as well, teams that the 49ers do not want to play in the playoffs as well. So, I want to start with the Lions. They're not an underrated team, but I kind of, after watching them beat the Vikings and kind of just have gathered information, I just want to quickly throw them in there. They have a good O-line, and we know that. They're figuring out the run game a little bit more. Early in the season, Jahmyr Gibbs, one thing I've noticed, because I do play fantasy, and I had Jahmyr Gibbs. Early in the season, Jahmyr Gibbs, not great, not getting a ton of touches, not a ton of work, and I think they were figuring out ways how to use him. But now you're seeing Jahmyr Gibbs get 15 carries per game and Montgomery 15 carries per game. They're truly splitting the carries between those two backs. But both of those backs are very talented backs. And so they're really starting to figure out, okay, how do we give the ball to our most explosive player, David Montgomery, and our most explosive player, Jahmyr Gibbs, and our power back, David Montgomery? How do we split carries? Because earlier in the year, they were just giving a lot of the carries to David Montgomery, but they started realizing, I think, that Jahmyr Gibbs is just too talented of a player not to give carries to. So they're figuring out how to use those two running backs. They're figuring out the run game. I think Goff, a lot of the reason why 49ers fans aren't afraid of the Lions in the playoffs is Jared Goff. And I agree. We've done historically very well against him, but I also think Goff has matured over the years. I think he is a lot different of a quarterback with the Lions than he was with the Rams. And the reason why I say that, I think there are things that he used to really struggle against with the Rams. He struggled to read the field with the Rams. He struggled, and that's why he threw a lot of picks. I think he's just become a lot more mature of a QB. And so I think the Niners, you have to take the line seriously because they have receivers. They have a good O-line. They have one of the best offenses in the league. And yes, their defense isn't great, but their defense also, if there's anything the last few weeks has taught me, their defense also is a very, they make stops at the right time. They're a good defense in the clutch. And in key moments, they're good. For example, last week, 4 interceptions. Now, yes, they were playing Nick Mullins. That's not great. But I think the Lions defense, they're opportunistic. Like last week, they had 4 interceptions. And yes, it was versus Nick Mullins. But if you're an undisciplined defense, you're not taking the ball away a lot because you're not able to capitalize on the offense's mistakes. So what the 4 interceptions that the defense forced last week off of the Vikings is, I think that the Lions defense doesn't necessarily have talent, but the Lions defense is they're very opportunistic, but they also know they can take the ball away in key. They're very how do I put it? I'm just trying to think of the word. They're very, when the offense makes a mistake, they capitalize on it. They don't see the offense make a mistake and they don't screw up themselves. I guess that's the best way I think I can put it. But so yeah, that's a team that was kind of long-winded. I'm trying to go fast here. Rams, very good team. I mentioned them before. They can run the ball. Kyren Williams has over 1,000 yards. Stafford, when healthy, is amazing. I was watching the QB school, and he was breaking down Stafford's performance from Thursday night against the Saints. And I mean, Stafford, one of these throws, I mean, he's rolling right, and he just makes a sidearm beauty, fits it right perfectly in the tight window of this Rams receiver. And this Rams receiver is all covered up. It's amazing. So Stafford, when healthy, a top 5 arm talent in the league, and he is healthy. I mean, the defense isn't great, but their offense can hang with anyone. And I think they're starting to show that. They can run the ball. They have great receivers. In Tutu Atwell, I believe is still, I don't know if he got injured, but they have Cooper Kupp, obviously, and then they have oh my gosh, the really good rookie receiver. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot this name. Puka Nacua. They have him as well. So they have a lot of talent. Offensive line isn't as great, but hey, if you have a good enough game plan against a certain team, you can beat anyone. So I think they are a team to watch out for, the Rams. They're the hottest team in the league. And the defense, yes, the defense doesn't have talent. Yes, the defense isn't great for the Rams, but they are very disciplined. They are very disciplined. They don't make a lot of penalties. They don't make a lot of mistakes, the Rams defense, as far as like blown coverages or anything. Last week, or against the Ravens a few weeks ago, they allowed 5 penalties, but only for 34 yards. The week before, last week, it was only 5 penalties. No. The week before last week, only 5 penalties, but not, I believe that was for 32 yards. So just not huge penalties. And then last week they had 3 penalties for whatever it was. So they're not really committing a lot of penalties, and not only are they not committing a lot of penalties, but they're also just, the penalties aren't super crucial penalties. They're not for a lot of yards. It's not for a lot of yards. So disciplined defense as well. Next team, the Browns. I want to quickly shout them out because the Browns could get this 5th or 6th seed or 7th seed, whatever it is. But what's so impressive about them is they are playing well without a elite quarterback. Joe Flacco was clutch, but he also threw 2 interceptions. But they're the type of defense, their defense is so good that it doesn't matter what their quarterback does, they're still going to win because their defense is going to get takeaways as well. And so, I mean, even if Joe Flacco even plays all right, they're still going to make it very far because their defense just covers up so many mistakes on the offensive side of the ball. So the Browns are definitely 100% a team that can do some damage in the playoffs. And then I mentioned earlier the Bills. The Bills haven't lost. They've won 3 straight. They haven't lost in 4 weeks. And I think the big thing with the Bills, and I think every Bills fan can agree with me, and everyone that has eyeballs and doesn't live under a rock can agree with me. The reason why the Bills have won the last 3 games is because they are running the ball. That's the only reason why. And that's why they fired Ken Dorsey, because they weren't running it enough, and it's showing. They are running. I wrote in caps right here. They're running, all caps, running the ball. You can see how bad my writing is. My writing is terrible, but they're running the ball. Last week, James Cook, or I believe that's his name, 20 attempts, 70 yards. It's only a 3.5 yard average, but it now makes teams respect the run game, which opens up the pass game and takes less pressure off of Josh Allen. And it also lets the Bills control the clock a little bit more. So, wow. I mean, they definitely have turned it around as far as the run game. The week before that, 25 attempts versus the Cowboys. Ran it down their throat. So they're starting to run the ball. And I feel like with them running the ball, they kind of have a similar, now they're starting to get a similar system as the Ravens. They have the Bills have a running quarterback in Josh Allen, and the Ravens have a running quarterback in Lamar Jackson. So now what the Bills are now starting to do is now they can start to play off the run. They can do RPO. Now that teams are maybe starting to respect the run game a little bit more, the Bills can maybe fake it with Josh Allen and run it with Josh Allen, or they can fake it and they can throw it, or they can just run the ball. So it opens up a lot more things. And the Bills' offense, more and more as weeks go by, is starting to become a little bit more like the Ravens' offense of just playing the run game through just having a really good mobile quarterback and also a really good passing quarterback. So if they can really get the run game down, I think the Bills could be a underrated contender for the Super Bowl. I look at these teams and I look at the Browns and I'm like, yeah, they could win in the first round, but they're not going to make the Super Bowl. I look at the Rams, yeah, they can win in this first round, but they're not going to make the Super Bowl. I look at the Lions, they might make the Super Bowl, but I legitimately look at the Bills and say, yeah, they don't have a great defense, but they can now run the ball, and that's all they need to make the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I think they're going to be a really good team. I definitely think they're going to make it past the first round because if they get this 5th or 6th seed, they're probably playing either the Jaguars or the Texans or really the Colts, anyone from the AFC South. And I think they could beat any one of those teams. And then they also, I mean, or they're playing the Chiefs, who, I don't know. I mean, yes, it's an Arrowhead, but I want to see a Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes rematch. I really want to see that because I feel like the Bills will get their revenge. The Bills will get their revenge. So yeah, I'm gonna answer a few more comments and get the heck out of here. I cannot believe I have been talking for an hour and 5 minutes. That is partly in thanks to all the great comments in the comment section. If you guys are watching on Twitter, go over to YouTube. And, you don't have to stop watching on Twitter, but giving a like would be really, really, really nice. And then also, New Year's Eve, I'll be dropping kind of what my t-shirts are going to look like, some sneak peeks to kind of the site and stuff like that. So that should be really cool. And then obviously t-shirts and the site will be coming out later in the year, later in 2024. But my whole thing is I need to get my watch time hours to 3,000 watch time hours. I'm at 1,500 right now. Over the next 365 days, I need to get it to 3,000, and I'm getting closer. But once I do that, I can start to advertise my site, my online site, and my t-shirts below videos. You can have a shop below your videos where people can see all your products that you make. And so that's basically, you can kind of advertise a little bit more your products that you make. And so that's why I'm starting to think about making t-shirts, and I'm starting to kind of and so my point is, if you guys have any friends that haven't heard about me, just and like football, send them over to me and basically share the show. I don't do a ton of promoting, but I definitely, if it's not too much for you guys, share the show and help me get to 3,000 watch time hours in 1 year, which I'm already at like almost 2,000. So it shouldn't be too much longer. Let's get to the comments. Hopefully I didn't drive you guys away with that short pitch, but let's see. When will you live again? That is an interesting comment. If he's asking when I will be moving back to the state, or when I will be going back to the United States, in 1 week, we're going back. So I will be out of this room. Benny for NFC. I think if the Rams were to play the Eagles or Lions, that would be an upset. Yes, I think so too. But even if they were to play the 49ers, let's say in the second round, I don't know if that would be a Niners win. I mean, it probably would, but it would be close. It would be close. Benny for the AFC, I think if the Browns were to play the Chiefs or Dolphins, that would be an upset. Browns are such an enigma, and they are one of the most injured teams in the league. I know that. Yeah. I think it would be an upset. I don't know about the Dolphins. I think maybe the Dolphins would be able to escape. It doesn't seem like you're very confident in your team because, as you guys know, Grandizer is a Dolphins fan. But yeah, it would be, I think, an upset. If the Browns were 50% healthy, they would be super deadly. Yeah, they would be. Benny, I'm an old guy. However, if a team like the Lions Browns would win the Super Bowl, I would not even be upset. I wouldn't either. I like Kevin Stefanski, the Browns head coach. I hate Deshaun Watson, as you guys all know, but he's not playing, so who knows? And then the Lions, I mean, yeah. Besides the Niners, I feel like the Lions would be that team that I'm like, they're underrated. I would love for them to win the Super Bowl. But I think my favorite right now has to be the Ravens. After what they did yesterday, my gosh. If you guys want to watch my whole rant on the Niners, go back and watch the first 30 minutes of the show. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Benny, hold on. I saw a playoff scenario where if the Bills win next week and others lose, then the Finns play the Bills for the last week, then Finns play Bills in the first round of the playoffs. Yeah. It's kind of similar with the Niners. Like if the Rams get the 6th or 7th seed and they beat that team in the first round, and then they could potentially play the Niners in the second round. And so basically the Niners would have played them the last week of the regular season and then the second round of the playoffs. So 2 weeks apart. So yeah, that is frustrating. Benny, you like to talk. You didn't even drink water. I know. I did not. I am so impressed with myself. Let me just give a shout out to myself. I did not drink water one time this whole entire show. That shows drinking water is overrated. I'm just kidding. Drinking water is the most essential thing you can do in your life, maybe except sleep. Although I don't get a lot of sleep on a regular basis because I'm balancing sports, I'm balancing school, I'm balancing show. Yeah, it's sometimes there's some late nights out there. When do you get back to the States? Yeah, I just answered that. Next week. LOL. Try to stream for 30 minutes except for the NFL pick show and the Friday night show, but I always go way over. Yeah, he's talking about his show. Yeah. Well, and the thing is like I want to separate my NFL shows with my Niners show, but I don't have as much time because I am in Australia. I'm more busy because I'm seeing different things in the country, and I'm hanging out with my cousins and stuff like that who live here. And so I'm definitely don't have as much time. So I try to combine everything in one show once a week. I'll probably, when I get back, try to do a twice a week show. Although when I get back, man, I'm gonna obviously have a job, and then since I'm homeschooled, I balance job and then work, and so I don't know, man. From the months February after the Super Bowl to all the way till the draft, I don't know how much content I'll be putting out because I'll be working, I'll be doing school, I'll be doing my channel. Well, no, doing sports, so I don't know how much I'll be doing my channel after the Super Bowl. Let's see. No, live stream again. I'm not sure what he meant with that. No, live stream again. Benny, I know a Lions content creator who is always looking for guests on his stream Friday mornings. He is out of Michigan. Super good guy. Is it Lions, Roar of the Lions UK? Because I have had him on. I've also had Dion, or I think that's his name, from Gridiron, or from oh my gosh, can't remember, from Lion Syndicate. So I know a few Lions content creators, and thank you for sending me Ravens content creators. I do know a few Ravens content creators, but I couldn't figure it out with them this week. Our schedules didn't match, so but I'm gonna get out of here because I have been doing this now for 75 minutes. I'm starting to get a little bit thirsty. So, guys, go have a good rest of your day. As always, stay tuned for for the sneak peek to the t-shirt designs on New Year's Eve, which will be happening in a few days. Merry Christmas, everyone. I forgot to say that at the beginning of the show. That's the most important thing. Merry Christmas. If you guys still have family hanging out with you, go and enjoy it with them. And football is just starting. The playoffs are what an exciting time to be a fan. The playoffs. And even if you're not the 1 seed, even if your team makes it into the playoffs, that is an exciting time to be a fan because you get another week of football. So I'll look that man up, Tim Maniac Sports. I'll look him up. But have a good rest of your week, everyone. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. It was a very productive show today. So we'll see you guys later. Have a good rest of your night because it is night there.